The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the New Soul. Commander Kai stood with his hands behind his back, watching the endless black space through the main window. His ship was not big or fancy. It was just a survey vessel, built to explore new places and collect information about planets and asteroids. "Sir, we're getting close to the outer marker," said Mia from her seat at the navigation console. She was young, maybe 25, with short black hair and quick fingers that danced across her controls. "Should I slow us down?" Kai nodded. "Yes. Bring us to cruising speed. Tay, how are our engines looking?" From the engineering station, Tay looked up from his screens. He was a big man with gentle eyes who could fix anything that broke on their ship. "All systems are running smooth, Commander. No problems at all." Sua, who handled all their communications, turned in her chair. "Sir, I'm not picking up any signals from this area. It's completely quiet out here." The New Soul had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach this part of space. Earth wanted to know what was out here, beyond the edge of human territory. They had found some strange readings on their long-range sensors, but nothing dangerous. Just something worth checking out. Kai walked over to the captain's chair and sat down. "All right, let's start our scans. I want to know everything about this system. How many planets, what kind of resources, if there's anything unusual." The crew got to work. This was routine for them. They had done surveys like this dozens of times before. Find a new system, scan everything, take notes, and send the information back to Earth. Simple and boring, just the way Kai liked it. But today would be different. "Commander," Mia said, her voice suddenly sharp. "I'm reading multiple contacts, approaching from the far side of the system." "They're big, sir, really big." Kai stood up fast. "How big?" 12 ships, each one about 2 kilometers long. They're moving toward us at high speed." Tay whistled softly. 2 kilometers? Those are some serious ships." Sua was already working at her station. "I'm trying to pick up their communications, but they're using frequencies I've never seen before. Wait, I'm getting something now." The main screen flickered and showed 12 massive ships approaching. They looked like floating cities with dark metal hulls covered in weapon ports and strange glowing symbols. Kai had never seen anything like them before. "Unknown vessel." A voice came through the speakers. It was deep and rough, speaking words that sounded almost like human language, but not quite right. "You are in Valerian Empire space. Identify yourself immediately." Kai looked at his crew. None of them had ever heard of the Valerian Empire before. "Sua, open a channel." "Channel open, sir." Kai cleared his throat. "This is Commander Kai of the human vessel New Soul. We're on a peaceful survey mission. We didn't know this area belonged to anyone." There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, sounding angry. "Humans? We have no record of your species. You will surrender your vessel immediately and submit to boarding. Any resistance will result in your destruction." "Well, that's not very friendly," Tay muttered. Kai frowned. These aliens seemed to think they could just order him around. "I'm sorry, but we can't surrender our ship. We're not doing anything wrong. We're just exploring." "You dare refuse?" the alien voice roared. "No species has ever refused the Valerian Empire. You will surrender or be destroyed." The 12 alien ships began to spread out surrounding the New Soul. Kai could see their weapons powering up, glowing with dangerous energy. "Sir," Mia said quietly, "they're targeting us." Kai sighed. He really didn't want trouble, but these aliens seemed determined to cause problems. "Tay, bring our defensive systems online. Sua, try to contact them again." "Defensive systems active," Tay reported. "But Commander, we're just a survey ship. We don't have heavy weapons like those things." "I know," Kai said. "Let's hope they're reasonable." But the aliens were not reasonable. Without any more warnings, they opened fire. Beams of bright energy shot toward the New Soul from all directions. The ship shook as the alien weapons hit. Their shields, but the shields held. Kai was surprised. Their little survey ship was tougher than he thought. "Shields at 80%, Tay called out. "Those weapons pack a punch, but we can take it." "Return fire," Kai ordered. The New Soul had weapons, but they were small ones meant for clearing asteroids and space debris. Kai didn't expect them to do much damage to ships as big as the alien vessels. He was wrong. The first shot from their main beam hit one of the alien ships right in the center. There was a bright flash, and suddenly the 2-kilometer-long ship broke in half. Both pieces exploded in balls of fire and metal. What the hell? Mia gasped. The alien ships stopped firing. Kai could imagine their confusion. They had expected an easy victory, and instead they had just lost one of their biggest ships to what they thought was a small defenseless vessel. "Sir," Sua said, "I'm picking up a lot of chatter from their ships. They sound really upset." Kai wasn't surprised. "Target the next closest ship. Fire again." Another beam shot out from the New Soul. This time it hit an alien ship near the engines. The entire back half of the ship disappeared in an explosion that lit up space for thousands of kilometers. The front half of the ship went spinning away, leaking air and sparks. Now the aliens were starting to panic. Their remaining ships began backing away from the human vessel. "Impossible," came the alien voice over the radio. "How can such a small ship have such powerful weapons?" Kai activated the communication system. "Listen, I tried to be peaceful. You're the ones who started shooting. If you want to stop this fight, just leave us alone and go away." "What are you?" the alien demanded. "What kind of military force are you?" Kai looked confused. "Military force? We're not military. We're just a survey team. I'm not even a real military officer. I used to fix computers before I got this job." There was dead silence from the alien ships. You're not military?" the voice finally asked. "No," Kai said. "We're civilians, scientists and explorers. The New Soul is just a survey ship." More silence. Then suddenly the remaining alien ships began moving away very fast. "Wait," the alien voice said, and now it sounded scared. "If you're not military, then where is your military?" Kai shrugged, even though the aliens couldn't see him. "I don't know. Back on Earth, I guess. Or maybe out protecting our colonies." "Why?" The alien ships were now running away as fast as they could move. "Because," came the terrified voice, getting fainter as the ships fled. "If your civilians can destroy our battlecruisers, what can your real military do?" Kai watched the alien ships disappear into hyperspace. He turned to look at his crew, who were all staring at him with wide eyes. "Well," he said slowly, "that was weird." Mia was the first to speak. "Commander, did we just fight off 12 alien battleships with a survey vessel?" "Apparently," Kai replied. "Tay, make a note in the log. We found aliens. They were rude. We made them go away." Tay was still staring at his engineering displays. "Sir, our weapons aren't supposed to be that powerful. They're rated for asteroid mining, not ship-to-ship combat. Maybe alien ships aren't as tough as they look," Sua suggested. Kai nodded. "Maybe. Or maybe our technology is better than we thought. Either way, let's finish our survey and head home. Earth is going to want to hear about this." As the New Soul continued its mission, none of them realized what they had just started. The aliens who had fled were already sending messages across their empire, telling everyone about the terrifying humans whose civilian ships could destroy their most powerful warships. The Valerian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and defeated every enemy they had ever faced. But now, for the first time in their history, they were afraid. They had no idea that things were about to get much worse for them. Kai finished his survey and started the journey home, humming quietly to himself. It had been an interesting day, but he was looking forward to getting back to Earth and filing his report. Maybe he would get a few days off after this mission. Behind him, the crew of the New Soul worked at their stations, still trying to understand what had just happened. They were good people, smart and capable, but they were not soldiers. They were explorers and scientists who had signed up to study stars and planets, not to fight alien empires. But as they would soon learn, sometimes the galaxy had other plans. The sea. New Soul jumped to hyperspace, leaving the alien system far behind. In a few days they would be home, safe on Earth, telling their story to anyone who would listen. The Valerian Empire, meanwhile, was about to receive the most shocking intelligence. report in their 3,000-year history, and they were going to have to decide what to do about these mysterious humans who could destroy their battleships with survey vessels. It was going to be a very interesting few months. The stars continued to shine peacefully in the void. But peace, as Commander Kai was about to discover, was a very fragile thing in a galaxy full of empires and aliens who thought they were the strongest species around. They were about to find out just how wrong they were. The emergency meeting in the Valerian Imperial Palace had been going on for 6 hours. Emperor Thakmor sat on his crystal throne, listening to reports that made no sense at all. Around him, his top military commanders and advisors argued back and forth about what to do. "It has to be a mistake," said General Kulrith, pacing back and forth across the marble floor. "One small ship cannot destroy 3 of our battlecruisers. The survivors must be lying." Admiral Dexlar shook his massive head. "I reviewed the combat recordings myself. The human vessel was tiny compared to our ships, but its weapons cut through our armor like it was paper." Spymaster Velthar stepped forward. He was tall and thin, with silver skin and eyes that seemed to see everything. "My Emperor, I request permission to investigate these humans personally. We need to understand what we're dealing with." Emperor Thakmor was old, even by Valerian standards. He had ruled the Empire for 200 years and had never faced a problem he couldn't solve with overwhelming force. But this was different. "Do it," he said finally. "Take your best agents and find out everything about these humans. I want to know how many ships they have, where they come from, and what kind of technology they possess." Velthar bowed. "It will be done, my Emperor." 3 days later, Velthar's fastest stealth ships entered human space. They were invisible to most sensors and could watch without being detected. What they found confused them even more. Agent Rixtal watched from his hidden position as human ships moved through space. They looked different from each other, like they were built by completely different species. Some were sleek and fast, others were big and bulky. Some had weapons visible on their hulls, others looked like peaceful trading vessels. "Report." Velthar's voice came through the secure communication channel. "Sir, I'm observing what appears to be a human trading convoy. 12 ships, all different designs. But something's wrong." "Explain." "The ships don't move like civilian vessels. They're maintaining perfect formation and scanning everything around them like military ships. And sir, some of those trading ships have weapon signatures that match our heavy cruisers." Velthar frowned as he listened from his command ship. "Are you certain they're not military vessels disguised as traders?" "That's just it, sir. I can't tell. They might be traders with military training or military ships pretending to be traders or something else entirely." On another world, Agent Morven was having an even stranger experience. She had landed on a human colony called New Busan and was watching the daily life of the inhabitants. At first, everything seemed normal. Humans walked around doing ordinary things like shopping and talking with friends. Children played games in the streets while their parents worked. But then Morven noticed something odd. The children's games involved tactics and strategy that looked suspiciously like military training. A group of 8-year-olds were playing something they called Capture the Flag, but they were using real teamwork and coordination that would impress Valerian Special Forces. She watched a human farmer named Nam working in his fields. He looked completely harmless, just a regular person growing food. But when space pirates attacked the colony, Nam grabbed what looked like a farming tool and somehow turned it into a weapon that destroyed 2 pirate ships. "How did he do that?" Morven whispered to herself, recording everything. The colony's doctor, a woman named Yeon, was even more puzzling. When the pirates tried to land troops, she started treating wounded civilians. But Morven noticed that Yeon was also coordinating the colony's defense, giving orders to fighters and somehow knowing exactly where the pirates would attack next. After the pirates were defeated, everything went back to normal. Nam returned. To farming, Yeon went back to her medical clinic and the children resumed their games. It was like the battle had never happened. Morven sent her report to Velthar. "Sir, I don't understand what I'm seeing. These humans appear to be civilians, but they fight like elite soldiers, and they do it so casually, like it's completely normal." Velthar was getting similar reports from agents all across human space. Every human world they observed was different, but they all had the same strange pattern. Civilians who could fight like professionals, defensive systems that could destroy invasion fleets, and people who seemed to treat warfare as just another part of daily life. Agent Keptor was watching a human space station when a Valerian patrol ship arrived. The patrol ship was just doing routine surveillance, but the humans responded immediately. Within minutes, what had looked like a peaceful trading station transformed into a fortress. Weapon ports opened all over the station's hull, revealing guns that were bigger than anything the Valerian patrol ship carried. Civilian ships in the area suddenly began moving with military precision, surrounding the Valerian vessel. The human station commander, a woman who sounded bored, contacted the Valerian ship. "Unknown vessel, you're in restricted space. Please, state your business or leave immediately." The Valerian captain tried to sound authoritative. "This is Captain Jerkal of the Valerian Empire. We are conducting routine patrols of this region." "Never heard of you," the human replied. "This is human space. You need to leave now, or we'll assume you're hostile." "Hostile? You wouldn't dare. Attack an Imperial patrol ship." There was a pause. Then the human woman laughed. "Mister, we've got 50 civilian ships out here and every one of them could turn your little patrol boat into scrap metal. Want to test that theory?" The Valerian captain looked at his sensors and realized she was right. Every civilian ship around the station was armed with weapons that outclassed his own. He quickly left the area. Keptor reported this incident to Velthar with growing concern. "Sir, their civilians carry military-grade weapons as standard equipment. I don't think these humans have a distinction between soldiers and non-combatants." After 2 weeks of observation, Velthar called all his agents back to compile their findings. What they discovered was unlike anything in Valerian experience. The humans had no central government. Instead, they had thousands of independent colonies, each with its own military, its own technology, and its own way of doing things. Some colonies were peaceful research stations. Others were fortress worlds that could withstand siege for years. Some were mobile habitats that could pack up and move if threatened. Even more disturbing, human civilians seemed to be trained from childhood for warfare. Their schools taught strategy and tactics alongside reading and mathematics. Their farmers knew how to turn farming equipment into weapons. Their doctors could coordinate military operations while treating wounded. "It's like their entire species is militarized," Agent Rixtal reported during the briefing. "But they don't act like a military society. They seem happy and peaceful. They just happen to be extremely good at fighting." Velthar studied all the reports carefully. As the Empire's chief intelligence officer, he had seen many strange species, but nothing like this. "Sir," Agent Morven said, "I think we may have misunderstood what we're dealing with. When our ships attacked that survey vessel, we thought we were fighting their military, but I don't think humans have a separate military class like we do." "What do you mean?" Velthar asked. "I think every human is a potential soldier. Their survey ship didn't have military weapons because it was civilian. It had military weapons because all their ships do. The crew weren't trained fighters because they were special. They were trained fighters because all humans are." The room fell, silent as the implications sank in. Agent Keptor spoke up nervously. "Sir, if that's true, then we didn't encounter their military at all. We encountered 4 random civilians who happened to be in the area." Velthar nodded slowly. "And if their random civilians can destroy our battlecruisers, then what can their actual military do?" Agent Rixtal finished. Velthar gathered all the reports and prepared to return to the Imperial Palace. Emperor Thakmor was not going to like what he had learned. The humans were not like other species the Empire had conquered. They had no central weakness to exploit, no single government to threaten, no capital world to destroy. They were spread across thousands of worlds, each one independent and capable of defending itself. Worse, they appeared to be an entire species of warriors who were just pretending to be civilians. Every human colony was a potential military base. Every human civilian was a potential enemy soldier. As Velthar's ship jumped to hyperspace, heading back to report to the Emperor, he couldn't shake the feeling that the Valerian Empire had just made a terrible mistake. They had attacked what they thought was a weak civilian vessel, only to discover that human civilians were more dangerous than most species' elite troops. If the Empire decided to go to war with these humans, they wouldn't be fighting an army. They would be fighting an entire species that treated warfare as casually as breathing. And somewhere in the back of his mind, Velthar had an even more troubling thought. If these were just their civilians, and if every human was this dangerous, then somewhere out there was their actual military professional human soldiers, trained from birth for warfare, equipped with the best weapons their species could build. The thought made even a veteran spy master like Velthar feel afraid. He had a feeling the Empire was about to learn a very expensive lesson about the dangers of picking fights with species they didn't understand. Emperor Thakmor threw the intelligence report across his throne room. The crystal tablet shattered against the marble wall, sending fragments scattering across the floor. "Impossible," he roared. "You're telling me an entire species are natural-born warriors? That makes no sense." Spymaster Velthar stood calmly as his emperor raged. He had expected this reaction. "My emperor, I have recordings and detailed observations from multiple agents across human space. The evidence is overwhelming." "Then we'll test them properly," the emperor declared. "If these humans think they can threaten the Valyrian Empire, they'll learn otherwise." "General Kolreth," the massive general stepped forward and saluted. "Yes, my emperor." "Prepare Battle Group Sigma. I want 200 ships, including 4 dreadnoughts. Take them to human space and crush these upstarts." "General," Kolreth smiled. Battle Group Sigma was one of the Empire's most powerful forces. It had conquered entire star systems and never known defeat. "It will be an honor, my emperor. How long should I give them to surrender?" "No surrender," Emperor Thakmor said coldly. "These humans need to learn respect, destroy their ships, conquer their worlds, and bring me their leaders in chains." 3 weeks later, Battle Group Sigma emerged from hyperspace at the edge of human territory. General Kolreth stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive dreadnought, called the Empire's Wrath. Around him 200 Valyrian warships spread out in perfect formation. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the humans. Put it on screen." The main display showed a human man in a simple uniform. He looked middle-aged and completely calm, despite facing the largest fleet the Valyrian Empire had ever sent against a single enemy. "This is Admiral Park of the Human Defense Coordination," the man said politely. "You've entered human space with a large military force. Please state your intentions." General Kolreth laughed. "Human Defense Coordination? What kind of military organization has such a boring name? I am General Kolreth of the Valyrian Empire. I'm here to conquer your species and teach you proper respect for your betters." Admiral Park nodded as if he'd expected this answer. "I see. Well, that's unfortunate. General Wu, are our volunteers ready?" Another voice came over the communication channel. "Yes, Admiral. Local militia from 12 systems have responded to the call. We have about 80 ships ready to assist." General Kolreth couldn't believe what he was hearing. 80 ships against 200, and you call them militia?" "That's right," Admiral Park replied. "These are just volunteers from nearby colonies who offered to help out. Most of them have regular jobs, farmers, teachers, mechanics, but they don't like bullies." "You're sending civilians against the Empire's finest military force?" General Kolreth was genuinely confused. "Are you insane?" Admiral Park shrugged. "Well, they're not really civilians. I mean, they have day jobs, but everyone knows how to fight. It's just common sense." The human ships began appearing on Valyrian sensors. General Kolreth studied the formation and frowned. The human vessels looked completely mismatched. Some were clearly military ships. Others looked like converted cargo haulers or mining vessels, but they moved with perfect coordination, like parts of a single organism. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "I'm reading some very strange energy signatures from those ships. Their weapons don't match anything in our database." "It doesn't matter," General Kolreth declared. "All ships attack formation. Let's end this quickly." The Valerian fleet moved forward in their traditional battle formation, a massive wedge designed to concentrate firepower and overwhelm enemy defenses. It had never failed before. The human ships didn't run. Instead, they did something the Valerians had never seen before. The mismatched vessels suddenly moved in ways that should have been impossible. Some seemed to simply vanish from sensors, others accelerated to speeds that broke the laws of physics, and a few appeared to phase through solid matter. Captain Ju commanded one of the human vessels, a converted mining ship called the Lucky Strike. Her crew consisted of former miners who had volunteered to help defend human space. As the Valerian dreadnought fired its main guns at her ship, she did something that made the alien weapons pass harmlessly through her hull. "Ju to all ships," she called over the radio. "Remember, these big ones are slow but tough. Don't try to fight them head-on. Use the maze formation and pick them apart piece by piece." The human ships scattered in all directions, but not randomly. They moved in a complex pattern that confused Valerian targeting systems, while allowing the humans to concentrate fire on individual enemy vessels. Within minutes, the first Valerian ship exploded. Then another, then 3 more. General Kulrith watched in horror as his massive fleet was being systematically destroyed by a much smaller force of what the humans called militia volunteers. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. His tactical officer was studying the sensor readings with growing panic. "Sir, their technology is completely different from ours. Their weapons seem to ignore our shields. Their engines provide impossible acceleration, and some of their ships appear to be partially existing in alternate dimensions." A human voice came over the communication channel. "Valerian fleet, this is Captain Ju. You've lost 27 ships in the last 5 minutes. Do you want to keep fighting, or would you prefer to discuss terms?" "Never!" General Kulreth roared. "All ships, full attack. Destroy them all." But the Valerian fleet was already falling apart. Human ships darted between the massive alien vessels. Like angry insects, their weapons tearing through armor that was supposed to be impenetrable. Every time the Valerians tried to target a human ship, it would disappear or phase through their attacks. The battle in space was a disaster for the Valerians, but General Kulreth had planned for this possibility. He had brought 50,000 elite troops for ground combat. Even if his ships were destroyed, he could still conquer human worlds the old-fashioned way. "Deploy all ground forces," he ordered. "Take the nearest human colony and show these people what happens when they defy the Empire." The Valerian troops landed on a small human world called New Incheon. It looked peaceful and defenseless, just a farming colony with maybe 50,000 inhabitants. The perfect place to demonstrate Valerian power. The troops expected to find terrified civilians hiding in their homes. Instead, they found something that would haunt Valerian nightmares for generations. The humans were waiting for them. Teacher Hai stood in the middle of what had been the colony's school just an hour ago. Now it was a fortress, with defensive positions that appeared to have been built in minutes. Around her, people who had been living normal civilian lives that morning were now armed and ready for battle. "Remember," she told her students, most of whom were teenagers, "these aliens think we're helpless civilians. Let's show them how wrong they are." The Valerian troops advanced on the colony with confidence. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and defeated countless species. A small farming community should be easy. The first wave of aliens made it exactly 50 meters before disappearing in a series of explosions. The humans had turned their farming equipment into weapons, their irrigation systems into defensive networks, and their civilian buildings into military strongpoints. Mechanic Du watched from his workshop as Valerian hover tanks approached his position. He activated a device that looked like a simple repair tool but somehow disabled all the alien vehicles at once. Their engines died, their weapons shut down, and their armor became as fragile as paper. "Amateurs," Du muttered, walking out to inspect the disabled tanks. "They don't even know how to properly shield their electronics." Across the colony, similar scenes played out. Human civilians demonstrated military skills that impressed even Valerian special forces. Every house became a bunker, every street became a killing ground, and every human became a deadly opponent. Dr. Yeon was treating wounded colonists when Valerian troops tried to storm her medical center. They expected to find helpless patients and medical staff. Instead, they found that the humans had turned the hospital into a command center that was coordinating the entire defense. "Jay, take your team and hit their communications array," Jan called out while bandaging a wounded farmer. "Min, I need you to disable their supply ships. Everyone else, keep those troops pinned down until our reinforcements arrive. The Valerian." Soldiers couldn't understand what they were seeing. These weren't military officers giving orders, they were doctors and farmers and teachers. But they fought with a level of coordination and tactical skill that surpassed anything in Valerian experience. After 6 hours of fighting, the Valerian ground forces were in full retreat. They had lost 60% of their troops trying to capture a single small farming colony, defended by people whose day jobs included growing vegetables and fixing farm equipment. General Colreth, watching from orbit in one of his few remaining ships, contacted Admiral Park again. This time, he didn't sound arrogant. "What are you people?" he asked. Admiral Park appeared on screen again, still looking calm and polite. "We're just humans, General. This is how we live. Everyone learns to defend themselves and their communities. It's basic common sense. But you're civilians, you shouldn't be able to fight like elite soldiers." Admiral Park looked confused. "Who told you we were civilians? The Imperial War Council had been meeting for 3 days straight. Emperor Thakmor sat at the head of the massive table, looking older than his 800 years. Around him, his top military commanders argued frantically about what to do. "Next, we cannot show weakness." Admiral Dexlar slammed his fist on the table. "If word spreads that a human militia defeated Battle Group Sigma, every species in the galaxy will think they can challenge us." General Colreth, who had returned with only 37 ships out of his original 200, shook his head. "You didn't see what I saw out there. Those weren't normal civilians. They fought like they had been training for war their entire lives." "Exactly." Fleet Admiral Yexgoth stood up from his chair. "Which means we need to send our absolute best. I propose deploying the Grand Fleet, every ship we have under my personal command." Emperor Thakmor had been silent for hours, thinking. The Grand Fleet was the Empire's ultimate weapon, 2,000 ships representing the combined naval power of 847 conquered worlds. It had never been used all at once before because no enemy had ever required that level of force. "Do it," he said finally. "Mobilize everything. I want every dreadnought, every battleship, every cruiser we have. Show these humans what happens when they challenge the Valerian Empire." Spymaster Velthar cleared his throat. "My Emperor, perhaps we should consider negotiation instead. My agents report that the humans have technologies we don't understand. Their weapons seem to operate on completely different principles than ours." "Coward," Admiral Dexlar spat. "You want us to negotiate with primitives who live on the edge of civilized space?" "I want us to survive this," Velthar replied calmly. "And I'm not sure we will if we continue down this path." Emperor Thakmor raised his hand for silence. "The decision is made. Fleet Admiral Yexgoth, you have 6 weeks to prepare. I want the Grand Fleet to completely destroy human space, leave nothing alive." 6 weeks later, the largest military force in galactic history emerged from hyperspace at the edge of human territory. Fleet Admiral Yexgoth stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Empire, and smiled at the sight of 2,000 Valerian warships stretching out in all directions. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the humans. Let's hear what they have to say." The main screen showed a different human this time, a woman in a more formal military uniform. She looked professional and completely unimpressed by the massive fleet facing her. "This is Admiral Bow of the Terran Defense Force," she said calmly. "You've brought quite a large force into our space. Are you here to surrender, or do we need to do this the hard way?" Fleet Admiral Yexgoth laughed. "Surrender. Human, you face the combined might of the entire Valerian Empire. 2,000 ships including 50 dreadnoughts. Your pathetic species will be wiped from existence." Admiral Bow nodded thoughtfully. "I see. Well, that's unfortunate. We were hoping you'd learned something from your previous encounters with our people. Your militia got lucky." Yexgoth sneered. "But now you face the Grand Fleet. Where are your ships, human? Are you planning to fight us with farming equipment again? Oh, we're here, Admiral Bow replied. All 300 ships of the Terran Defense Force Training Squadron. We've been waiting for you. Yexgoth nearly choked. Training Squadron? You're sending students against the Grand Fleet? Well, yes. This seemed like a good opportunity for our new pilots to get some real combat experience. Don't worry, though. Colonel Rowe and Captain Un are supervising. They're experienced instructors. The Valerian sensors began detecting human ships approaching from multiple directions. But instead of the thousands of vessels Yexgoth had expected, there were only a few hundred. They looked more advanced than the militia ships, but they were still vastly outnumbered. Sir, his tactical officer reported nervously. I'm reading very unusual energy signatures from those ships, much more powerful than what we encountered before. Yexgoth waved dismissively. It doesn't matter. 300 ships against 2,000? This will be over in minutes. But when the battle began, everything went wrong immediately. The human ships didn't fight like anything in Valerian experience. Where the militia had been clever and resourceful, these military vessels were simply terrifying. They moved through space like they were swimming through water instead of following the laws of physics. Commander Seo's destroyer did something that broke every rule of space combat. It phased through the hull of a Valerian dreadnought and fired its weapons from inside the enemy ship. The dreadnought exploded from within, taking out 2 other Valerian vessels in the blast. Impossible! Yexgoth screamed. Ships can't do that! His science officer was studying the sensor readings with growing panic. Sir, I don't think their technology follows the same physical laws as ours. Their weapons seem to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and their defensive systems are bending space-time around their hulls. Major Yu was leading what the humans called a boarding exercise. Her troops somehow infiltrated Valerian ships without using airlocks or cutting tools. They simply appeared inside enemy vessels, disabled the crews with non-lethal weapons, and took control of the ships. This is Major Yu to Admiral Bow, came a calm voice over the communication channel. My team has secured 12 enemy dreadnoughts. What should we do with them? Just disable their weapons and engines, Admiral Bow replied casually. We'll return them after the exercise is over. Fleet Admiral Yexgoth watched in horror as his massive fleet was being systematically dismantled by a force less than 1/6 its size. Worse, the humans weren't even trying to destroy his ships. They were capturing them and treating the entire battle like a training exercise. Sir, his communications officer said weakly, Admiral Bow is requesting to speak with you again. Put her on screen, Yexgoth said through gritted teeth. Admiral Bow appeared, still looking completely calm. Fleet Admiral, you've lost 347 ships in the last 20 minutes. Your fleet is starting to break formation. Would you like to discuss terms? What kind of terms? Yexgoth asked, knowing he had no choice. Well, first, you need to stop attacking human colonies. Second, you need to compensate the families of the people your forces killed. Third, you need to send a formal apology to Earth. And if we refuse? Admiral Bow smiled slightly. Then we'll have to get serious about this. So far, we've just been letting our students practice. But if you want to continue fighting, I can call in the real military. Yexgoth felt confused. Real military? You mean this isn't your real military? Oh no, this is just the Terran Defense Force Training Squadron. New recruits getting their first taste of combat. The actual military is busy with more important things. More important than the largest fleet in galactic history? Well, yes. There are some real threats out there that require serious attention. Your little empire isn't really considered a major problem. Before Yexgoth could respond, new contacts began appearing on long-range sensors. Massive signatures, unlike anything the Valerians had ever seen. What is that? He whispered. Admiral Bow looked at her own displays and nodded. That would be Marshal Ben arriving with the Human Expeditionary Force. I guess someone back on Earth decided this situation needed more attention after all. The new ships that appeared made everything else look like toys. They were enormous, each one larger than a Valerian space station. And there were dozens of them, moving through space with a grace that defied their massive size. Admiral Bow, came a new voice over the communication channel, deep and authoritative. "This is Marshal Bin of the Human Expeditionary Force. Are you having trouble with these aliens?" "Not really, sir," Admiral Bow replied. "Just a training exercise that got a bit out of hand. The alien commander seems reluctant to accept our terms." "I see. Well, we have more important matters to attend. To finish up quickly and send them home." Fleet Admiral Yexgoth stared at the massive human ships in the distance. Each one of them looked like it could destroy his entire remaining fleet single-handedly, and the human admiral was treating them like a minor inconvenience. "Admiral Bow," he said quickly, "we accept your terms, all of them. We'll withdraw our forces immediately and send the apology you requested." "Good choice," Admiral Bow replied. "Oh, and Fleet Admiral, you might want to pass along a message to your Emperor." "What? Message?" Admiral Bow's expression became serious for the first time. "Tell him that what he's been fighting is just our training programs and local defense forces. The true army hasn't even arrived yet. If he continues to threaten human space, that might change." As the shattered remains of the Grand Fleet began, retreating toward Valyrian space, Fleet Admiral Yexagoth tried to understand what had just happened. The largest military force in galactic history had been defeated by what the humans described as student pilots on a training exercise, and according to Admiral Bow, these weren't even their real military forces. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "incoming message from Marshal Bin." "Put it through." The human marshal appeared on screen. He was older than the other humans they had encountered, with gray hair and eyes that seemed to have seen terrible things. "Fleet Admiral," Marshal Bin said formally, "I'm going to give you some advice. Go home. Stay in your own territory. Don't come back here." "Why?" Yexgoth asked. Emperor Thakmor sat in his private chambers, staring at Fleet Admiral Yexagoth's report for the 100th time. The words made no sense. The Grand Fleet, 2,000 ships that had never known defeat, had been destroyed by 300 human vessels that their commanders called a training squadron. A soft chime indicated someone was requesting entry. "Come in," the Emperor said wearily. Spymaster Velthar entered, carrying another stack of reports. "My Emperor, we've received additional intelligence about the humans. I think you need to see this. More impossible stories about civilian farmers destroying our battleships? No, sir, something much more disturbing." Velthar activated a holographic display. "These are long-range sensor readings from the edge of our territory. Look at what's approaching." The display showed massive objects moving through deep space. They were enormous, each one the size of a small moon, and there were hundreds of them moving in perfect formation toward Valyrian space. "What am I looking at?" Emperor Thakmor asked. "Human ships, my Emperor, but not like the ones we've encountered before. These are different." The objects on the display didn't look like ships at all. They looked like mobile worlds, covered in cities and defensive structures. Each one was easily 1,000 times larger than the biggest Valyrian dreadnought. "How many?" the Emperor whispered. 247 that we can detect," Velthar replied. "But our sensors suggest there may be more beyond our range." Emperor Thakmor stood up from his throne and walked to the window overlooking his capital city. For 3,000 years, the Valyrian Empire had been the strongest force in the galaxy. Now he was looking at a fleet that made his entire military look like a collection of toys. "Sir," Velthar said quietly, "they're requesting permission to enter our territory. They want to meet with you personally. Do we have a choice?" "No, sir. If they wanted to destroy us, I don't think we could stop them." An hour later, Emperor Thakmor stood in his throne room, surrounded by his entire government and military leadership. Everyone was nervous. The humans had sent a single small ship to the Imperial Palace, but everyone knew that massive fleet was waiting just outside their territory. The human delegation consisted of only 3 people. Their leader was an older man with gray hair and calm eyes. He wore a simple uniform with markings that indicated extremely high rank. "Your Imperial Majesty," the man said, bowing slightly. "I am Marshal Bin of the Human Expeditionary Force. These are General Cha and Admiral Jin. We appreciate you agreeing to meet with us. Emperor Thakmor tried to maintain his dignity despite the circumstances. Marshal Bin, I understand you have something to tell us. Yes, sir. First, we owe you an apology. Our people may have given you the wrong impression about humanity's intentions in this galaxy. Wrong impression? Marshal Bin nodded. You encountered our local defense forces and training units. They probably made it seem like we were some kind of aggressive military species. That's not accurate. Admiral Dexler stepped forward angrily. Not accurate? Your people destroyed our fleets. General Cha spoke up. With respect, Admiral, your fleets attacked our civilians first. Our people were just defending themselves. Defending themselves? Dexler sputtered. Your civilians destroyed our battleships with survey vessels. Yes, Marshal Bin agreed. That's kind of the problem we need to discuss. Emperor Thakmor raised his hand for silence. Explain. Marshal Bin activated a small device, and holographic images appeared in the air above them. The images showed star maps with vast regions marked in different colors. Your Imperial Majesty, what you're looking at is a map of this galaxy as we see it. The green areas represent civilized space, places where species like yours live and build peaceful societies. Emperor Thakmor studied the map. The green areas covered maybe 20% of the galaxy, including Valerian space. What are the red areas? He asked. Admiral Jin answered. Dead zones, sir. Places where entire civilizations have been wiped out by something we call the Devourers. Devourers? Marshal Bin's expression became grim. Ancient entities that exist partially outside normal space-time. They consume entire galaxies, feeding on the life force of every living being. This galaxy has been under attack for over 50,000 years. The throne room fell silent. Emperor Thakmor felt a chill running down his spine. You're telling me there's something out there that's been destroying civilizations for 50,000 years? Yes, sir. And they're getting closer to civilized space every year. General Cha stepped forward. Your Imperial Majesty, humanity didn't expand into this galaxy to build an empire. We came here because our home galaxy was being consumed by the Devourers. We're refugees. Refugees? Spymaster Velthar spoke up. But your technology, your military capabilities, were developed out of necessity, Marshal Bin explained. When your entire species is under constant threat from entities that can destroy solar systems, you learn to build very good weapons very quickly. Admiral Jin activated another display. This one showed human colonies throughout the galaxy, but now, Emperor Thakmor could see they formed a pattern, a defensive line between civilized space and the red zones. Every human colony you've observed, Admiral Jin said, is actually a fortress world. Every human civilian is trained for combat because at any moment, the Devourers might break through our lines. Your survey ship that started this conflict, General Cha added, was returning from a reconnaissance mission in Devourer territory. Commander Kai and his crew had been observing enemy positions for 3 months. Emperor Thakmor tried to process this information. So when our ships attacked them, they responded the way any human would respond to a threat, Marshal Bin confirmed. But they were confused because your ships looked like something built by a civilized species, not like Devourer constructs. What do Devourer constructs look like? Velthar asked. Admiral Jin's expression darkened. Imagine your worst nightmares given physical form and powered by technology that shouldn't exist. Ships that are alive, weapons that feed on fear, engines that run on the death of entire worlds. Your Imperial Majesty, Marshal Bin said formally, we didn't come here to threaten you. We came to deliver a message. What message? The Devourers have noticed this galaxy's civilized zones. They're preparing for a major assault. We estimate 18 months before they reach the outer colonies. The implications hit Emperor Thakmor like a physical blow. You're saying my entire empire is in danger? Not just your empire, sir. Every living thing in civilized space. The Devourers don't take prisoners or negotiate treaties. They consume everything. General Dexler stepped forward aggressively. If this threat is so dangerous, why didn't you tell us before? General Cha looked at him calmly. Because until recently, we thought we could handle it ourselves. We've been fighting this war for 500 years, but the Devourers are getting stronger and we're running out of places to retreat to. So you need our help? Emperor Thakmor asked. No, sir, Marshal Bin replied. We need your permission. Permission? For what? Admiral Jin activated another display. This one showed the massive human fleet waiting outside Valerian territory, but now additional information was visible. Each of those enormous ships contained millions of humans and vast manufacturing facilities. Permission to build defensive positions in your territory, Admiral Jin explained. Permission to evacuate your populations to safer areas. Permission to teach your people how to fight an enemy that exists partially outside normal reality. Emperor Thakmor stared at the display in shock. How many people are in that fleet? 2 billion, Marshal Bin answered. Military personnel, their families, industrial workers, scientists, everyone we could evacuate from the outer colonies before the Devourers overran them. 2 billion people living on ships? That's nothing, General Cha said grimly. The Terran Colonial Union has 15,000 ships like these scattered across 12 galaxies. What you're seeing outside your territory is just Earth's contribution to this particular front. Spymaster Velthar spoke up nervously. Terran Colonial Union? The government representing human colonies across multiple galaxies, Admiral Jin explained. Earth is just one member world, but it's our military headquarters. Emperor Thakmor felt dizzy. Multiple galaxies? How many humans are there? Marshal Bin was quiet for a moment. We stopped counting after the first trillion. When your species is fighting for survival across multiple galaxies, population numbers become less important than strategic capability. Your Imperial Majesty, General Cha said gently, when your ships attacked Commander Kai's survey vessel, you weren't fighting a minor border skirmish. You were interfering with reconnaissance operations in an active war zone that spans multiple galaxies. Admiral Jin nodded. The true army that our people mentioned isn't just Earth's military. It's the combined forces of human civilization across known space. Millions of ships, countless worlds, and technologies developed specifically for fighting enemies that shouldn't exist. Emperor Thakmor looked around his throne room at his advisors and generals. They all looked as overwhelmed as he felt. What do you want from us? He asked finally. Marshal Bin's expression softened. Cooperation, sir. We're not here to conquer your empire. We're here to save it. But we need your help to do it. The Devourers will reach this galaxy